Hey everybody, welcome to Crossover Attack. Did you miss us? It's been a bit.
Yeah, it's been a few months or so.
Yeah, well, first of all, I should say, I'm Eric Freshley from Freshly Stream Games. This is Hunter Davenport from Comic Club and Phantom Zone.
That's me. I'm back, baby.
Yeah.
About 30 miles away from my old apartment.
That's what I was going to say. If you're watching our video, you can see why we hadn't recorded in a while, why we had some issues. Hunter had to move. And
yeah, I had to leave. I had to flee my last city.
That's never an easy process. I had to do it about a year ago. It sucks.
It's the worst.
Yeah, we both had to do it in like similar circumstances where it wasn't really our choice, just kind of happened. And
yeah, pretty much.
Fucking sucks.
Hey, what can you do?
What can you do except get back to podcasting, I guess.
Exactly.
We are gonna go kind of light on news today because we got a million games to talk about since we've been playing, since it's been so damn long. Our last episode was December 17th.
That was so long ago.
Yeah, I know. We got mostly just games to talk about. Plus, I don't know. There's still a lot of the news I'm just not interested in talking about anyway. But why don't we start off with Star Wars Jedi Survivor? How appropriate, because May the 4th just passed.
Exactly.
What platform are you playing on, first of all? Because I hear the PC version is a problem.
I'm playing on PlayStation 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to get it on PC, and then all those articles started coming out. I was like, nope, not going to fuck with that at all. So I got PlayStation.
Smart man.
I've been having a good time with it. I really love it, honestly. I've seen some people say the PS5 version is kind of buggy too, and I don't really have any of that. I've had it so far, at least.
They've done a couple patches by now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
At least one I saw on Twitter. How did you feel about Fallen Order?
I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite game.
Okay.
I feel like this one I like a lot more. And I don't know why. There's a lot of stuff I like more in it, like the stances and stuff. This one feels more like perfecting what they did in the first one. A lot of the Metroidvania stuff's still there. There's some cool lore stuff for Star Wars freaks. The weird thing is I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan. I'm really
really?
it. Yeah. I'm not a big Star Wars fan.
I didn't care for the first game as much as I was hoping to. I've kind of come to realize that maybe I just don't like, or really more appropriate, am not good at melee combat in any games, honestly, because the next game we're going to talk about is Breath of the Wild, and I just struggle with timing on parries. Parries and blocking, and I've never been good at Soulsborne games at all. And Fallen Order was a similar story. I just had struggled so much with melee combat. And so I kind of... Plus, we've talked about before, that genre, the third-person, single-player, third-person action-adventure, cinematic stuff, not my jam usually. But I love Respawn, and I am a Star Wars fan. Maybe not crazy hardcore, but I like Star Wars quite a bit. So I was expecting to like Fallen Order a lot, and I just didn't.
Yeah. This one I'm really enjoying.
Yeah.
I genuinely really like this game.
Does it kind of take place immediately after Fallen Order? Or is there some time?
No, actually it does not. Which is interesting because I remember the end of that game and it seemed like it was it ends on kind of a dire note.
Yeah.
And this doesn't really pick up the threads from that, I don't feel like. Or not with the immediacy of the ending of that game.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really good. I really enjoy it.
Is the story a highlight?
Yes, the story's very good. I'm really enjoying it.
Most of the characters from the first game returning and all that jazz?
Yep.
Excellent.
You got your Marins and your Greases and your Seer.
What I'll probably end up doing, which is what I did for Fallen Order 2, is just watching a YouTube, I think it's Gamer's Little Playground. You've probably seen that channel. It does, all the cutscenes put together as a movie. That's probably what I'll end up doing with Jedi Survivor. Excellent. So that's a plus in a week of I don't know. in a week where it feels like Redfall's kind of dragging everything down. Having a plus is having a good game is quite a positive. Hey, I played a brand spanking new game, the talk of the town, the newest, the hottest thing on the streets, Breath of the Wild. Because Tears of the Kingdom's coming out, and I'm getting just so goddamn excited about that. I went back to Breath of the Wild, which I never beat. I absolutely loved that game when it came out. One of my favorite games of all time, but I didn't really care about finishing it. I was just like, I'm just fucking around in this world and making my own fun. I only had done 2 Divine Beasts, and just had a blast. And just kind of when I felt like I was worn out, I stopped. And now I picked up my save 6 years later and decided to go ahead and finish it. And I said it was one of my favorite games of all time, and I still I feel like that was underrating it in a way. Like, that game is so goddamn special.
It inspired tons of games. Like, I don't think, honestly, if we didn't have Breath of the Wild, we probably wouldn't have Elden Ring. Something like stuff like that. So
absolutely. And it's still just, I didn't play Elden Ring, but still Breath of the Wild just feels something so unique and magical about it to me. Just kind of the way all the systems work together and the freedom there. Like, it gives you the freedom to just kind of break the game and skip huge parts of it and cheese a whole lot of it, and all that's okay. Like, it feels kind of cool to do that stuff. In the final castle, there were huge parts that I just kind of skipped by climbing up the right walls or gliding in the right places. And I don't think that's necessarily like a flaw. That's kind of by design, and it makes you feel clever and cool when you do those things. And just gets me so damn excited for Tears of the Kingdom, because I think the way they're having the fuse mechanics and the Ultra Hand mechanics, like, they're just doubling down on that stuff. Yeah. You're going to be able to break the hell out of that game, and that's awesome. I can't wait for that.
It's a spiritual successor to Nuts and Bolts, and I think we could all be really excited about that.
Dude, no joke. I mean, I didn't play a whole lot of the original 2 Banjos, but I think Nuts and Bolts is the best one, honestly. I know that's not the popular opinion.
I like it, but I don't know if I agree it's the best one, but I do like that game.
So yeah, now I've actually just this morning, I finally beat Ganon, which that last fight was actually pretty easy. I was kind of gearing up for it, getting all my best weapons and everything, and I really didn't need most of it. It's like, well, just kind of use the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield, and that was kind of it. And I didn't need as many Koroks or as life bars as I had, and all that stuff. So, and I did beat one of the DLCs, the Champion's Ballad, which was also made my cooldown on those champion abilities like half the time, so that helped out a lot too. Yeah. Plus, it gave me the motorcycle. Motorcycle was badass.
I think it's cool as hell. They put a motorcycle in a Zelda game.
Yeah.
What? Crazy.
Yeah. You know, they had they did a GDC talk where they were talking about, hey, between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, all their ideas of what they were going to do, and one of their kind of concept arts that they were thinking about doing was like a futuristic Zelda, like Zelda in an Akira world or something.
That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah.
I wish they did that.
And the concept art had him on a motorcycle. There was another piece of art that had him as a guitar player. It's just all this crazy shit. I gotta watch that, finish that GDC video. It's a couple of years old now, but it's crazy. I think there was something else I was gonna say about Zelda. Oh, I did get all the. I kind of heard. All right, so Tears of the Kingdom is leaked. I don't know if people have heard that.
Oh God, yeah.
Spoilers are out there like crazy. I've avoided most of it. And I don't even think this is part of the leak. This is just kind of something that's out there. But I did hear one thing that carries over is your horses. You bring your horses from Breath of the Wild into the next game.
Good.
So I went and I found there's 2 kind of special horses in Breath of the Wild that I went out of my way to get once I had heard about this. And this, I guess you could say this is a spoiler for Breath of the Wild, but that was 6 years ago, so fuck off. One of them is Zelda's white horse, and one of them is a giant horse. So I got both those. So hopefully I can bring those into the next game.
Big horse.
He can't even sprint, but he just runs over everything and kills it.
He doesn't need to. He's just that powerful.
It's really fucking cool. I named her Bertha.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait for Zelda. For Tears of the Kingdom. I took a day off work on Friday. I'm gonna stream that at that. I did not stream Breath of the Wild because since I was picking up my save halfway through, I thought that might be weird. Like you can't see what I played from the beginning. I don't know. I didn't know if people would care. But for Tears of the Kingdom, I definitely will be. So look forward to that on Friday on Freshly Streamed Games on probably Twitch, maybe Kick. I don't know yet. I'm kind of bouncing between the two and seeing. I don't know if I get anybody watching on either one. What's gonna be like the first two things you fuse together in Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm gonna make a ham bomb. Is that a thing?
A ham bomb.
I'm gonna make a ham bomb. I'm gonna find some kind of meat out in the world.
Yeah,
I fuse it to something explosive.
I know you can definitely fuse meat to like arrows, so I imagine you can fuse it to a bomb. I guess. Although, like, the bomb rune for Breath of the Wild is not in Tears of the Kingdom. Instead, they have... Oh, that's
right. Because there aren't runes anymore. Yeah.
Well, I guess they count fuse as a rune, but not like... Yeah. They don't have the old runes. But they have, like, bomb flowers, like that used to be in old Zeldas, are back in this one now. So you should be able to do that, I think. I don't know why you couldn't.
I want to fuse meat to everything I can. That's my whole goal with Tears of the
Kingdom. We did find out that meat on an arrow, because people were wondering what the hell that's actually going to do. It's bait, essentially. You put meat on an arrow and you shoot it at the ground, and the enemies will go over to it and try to eat it.
Yum.
Yep. I'm going to put swords on a boomerang. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, no, you know what? You got the right idea. Yeah. We're going to add swords to everything.
Yes. All right. I guess that's good enough for Zelda. Right?
Sure.
Anything else to say about that? When's the last time you played Breath of the Wild?
6 years ago.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah. But we talked earlier. I know you're excited for Tears of the Kingdom just like me.
I definitely am.
It was not really hitting me until like about 2 months ago, I guess. When they showed that 10-minute video with the fuse mechanic and it just got me.
Yeah, that was when I was like, oh, they're actually, this is something. Like,
yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
yeah, it's not just DLC.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, that's a dismissive term anyway, but it's not just more of the same, I should say.
Yeah.
They're really, they're just doubling down on ways to break the game, honestly. And I'm all about that. And it's funny, right at the very end, I think the Ganon fight is when I finally started to get okay at parrying the Guardian lasers. I struggled with that for so long.
I never got good at that, to be honest with you.
I wonder if I don't think we have seen Guardians in Tears of the Kingdom yet in any of the footage. I don't even know if they're going to be back or not. I kind of hope not, honestly.
I kind of hope they're not, too.
Yeah.
There were times when the first game, or in Breath of the Wild, where I felt like, okay, this is a little much.
Yeah. Yeah, just surrounding Hyrule Castle, there's so goddamn many. Mega Man Battle Network Collection. Is that what it's officially called? Is it collection or plus?
Battle Network Legacy or something? I don't remember that name. But I've been playing a lot of this on my Steam Deck that I just got, by the way. I have a Steam Deck now.
Yeah, we should kind of actually let's sidebar for a second. How you liking the Steam Deck?
Steam Deck is fucking kick-ass. It's my favorite handheld of all time, I think.
Wow.
It's really good.
Have you set up emulators and everything on there?
No, I have not. I've actually been strictly playing my Steam games because I find that is the best way to play them. Besides my PC. That's
probably the way to do it because for me, I went down the emulator hole like on day one, and honestly, and I think I've talked about this on the show, all I do with my Steam Deck is tinker with shit. I don't play any actual games. It's sickness.
Once I discovered I can play like Amori and stuff on like anywhere, I was like, all right, I'll just
So Battle Network,
it's awesome. They made this really good collection of games that I've only played 1 and 2, so I'm kind of slowly making my way through them.
I've never played any of them, so. And
those are great games, fantastic games.
Yeah, they always looked neat. They are turn-based, correct?
Yes, they are. Kind of turn-based. It's more like. It's kind of like Pokemon in some ways, and it's not really.
I was looking up while you were talking the exact name: Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. It's kind of like Pokemon, but not really. It's just really good.
Yeah. How much? is, I don't know. When I think of Mega Man, I'm not a huge Mega Man guy, but I don't think of dialogue and story, but these are kind of JRPGs. So, how much of it, I guess, is just action, or I guess, in turn-based, you could just say battles compared to talking.
It's pretty balanced, I think.
Okay.
The cutscenes and like the dialogue is really funny because it has Mega Man Battle Network has a famously terrible translation.
Okay.
So there's a lot of funny moments where things are said that it's very clear there's a misunderstanding. But yeah, it's really good, and they didn't fix any of that because they wanted to keep it
pure,
and yeah. I think it really works out that way.
How many games are on this thing?
There are, I don't know. There are a lot though. I know it went all the way up to the GameCube.
And I know some of them, I don't know at what point they started. They split them like Pokemon, and they're like, hey, it's the same game, but 2 different versions of it.
Yeah. I can't remember how many games there are, but I know that it goes up to the GameCube game. Wow.
6 main games is what this says, is what Wikipedia says. But and then Battle Network 3 through 6 all have 2 versions, so 10 games total, but like 6. I don't know, 6 main games. I guess the best way to say it. There was an indie game a couple of years ago that kind of took inspiration from Mega Man Battle Network, except it was not turn-based. It was the exact kind of battle system, except just real time. So it was everybody going real quick all the time.
Yeah, it was One Step from Eden.
Yes, yeah, and that was on Game Pass. I don't think it is anymore.
That game's cool.
Yeah, I was always curious about playing it. I never actually did. I think I ended up, when it left Game Pass, I bought it so that I will eventually maybe play it.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it looks like it. And so you said you're playing it on Steam Deck. I wonder how that Game Boy Advance pixel art, like if you were to put it on your TV, I wonder if...
yeah, I would be real concerned to play that on my TV, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like... I have messed around a little bit with, because I bought the Steam Deck dock so that I can play stuff on my TV with it. I haven't really played any Game Boy Advance games like for very long stretches, but I have just kind of looked at a few, and I mean, yeah, they're, it's about what you would expect, but it's not awful. It's not unplayable.
They look great. No, the games look great. I just, when I was a kid, I had that the Game Boy player that you had for GameCube. Oh. I had that thing.
Oh wow.
It's probably fine if you play it on TV, but like I don't want to find out. I don't want those memories sullied.
Well, let's move on to the Diablo 4 beta. I played the hell out of that, and actually I streamed all that, so that's all on my YouTube channel. I almost forgot that I streamed that. Because, if you get to level 25 in it, or 20, then you get a dog, or a wolf cub, on your back as a cosmetic for actual Diablo 4.
That's actually pretty sick.
I mean, and also, I played the hell out of it because I really, really enjoyed it. How about that? I've only dabbled in Diablos before. This is going to be the first one that I really go deep on. And playing this made me wonder why I never went deep before, because I do have Diablo 3. Because this was fun as hell. I had such a blast playing this. And people know, if they listen to this show, that I'm a Destiny guy. So, like, and a Borderlands guy. I love games where I chase down loot. It's some of my most fun shit. And this is the grandfather of them. So, I don't know why I'd never... Maybe because it was always PC first, kind of until now. Yeah. Is why I never got into it, but...
And for a while, there was a lot of negative connotations around Blizzard.
Oh, yeah.
Still is.
And yeah, I was going to say, it still is.
So I think a lot of people have that experience of not being into Diablo until this one.
Yeah. It does feel like they're just nailing every part of this, though. It looks gorgeous. I know... The art style of Diablo 3 was divisive with fans because it was a lot brighter and people thought more cartoony or whatever the hell. And this is not. And I played mostly as Druid. A little bit. I kind of just to test things out, I went in with Barbarian a little bit and with Necromancer a little bit. But most of my time was as Druid, which in the beta, I found out afterwards, people were saying Druid was weak as shit. But I liked it. So... I don't know what to tell you. Now, I know they're buffing it for the main game. They're buffing Barbarian and Druid. I'm still kind of torn between which of those two I'm going to play. Each class has a really cool, like, it's almost kind of like we used to talk about with multiverses, how each character had like a subsystem.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, and it feels like each class in Diablo does too. With the Barbarian, they can carry up to 4 weapons.
That's pretty dope. That's the class I'm going to pay.
Yeah. one large edged weapon, which is a sword or an axe, one large club, I guess, and then 2 handheld weapons. And
at the same time, that's an important distinction.
Well, he automatically switches, like depending on which attack you do. You don't have to like.
That's pretty cool. That's so cool.
Like his attack will be, hey, this weapon will use your sword. This weapon will use your handheld, and you don't have to think about it. He just automatically will switch. But you do, I think, you get the passives. The passive, like, enchantments on all the weapons, I think those are all active.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. It's really neat. And the Druid has... Well, the Druid one, you could see the menu, but you couldn't actually get it in the beta. But he has these, like, animal gods that he can call upon. And we don't know what they do yet, because, like I said, we couldn't access it in the beta. But they will probably change his whole play. So, I mean, his normal, kind of just his basic attacks... well, depending on which ones you pick, he can shapeshift. He can into a bear or a wolf. And Lisa was playing as the rogue. She has an imbuement system where she can kind of, I think it's shadow damage, cold damage, and one other, I can't remember, where she can kind of put that on her weapons for, 30 seconds at a time. And then all her attacks will do cold effects, or all attacks will do shadow effects, stuff like that. Yeah, it's really neat. It feels great on a controller. Diablo 3 felt pretty great on a controller, too. I'm very excited for that. Kind of Zelda and Diablo, which are coming out like a month apart, are like...
Pretty great, actually.
Yeah, I'm very excited for both those. And then kind of after that, there's not going to be a whole lot else for me this year. There's some indie games I'm really looking forward to, but like those are the big AAA games that I'm very, very psyched for, and I'm going to be playing a lot of. Both on my channel, and we'll talk about them on this show a lot. Might be the only 2 games to talk about for the rest of the year, so be prepared for that. That's not true. But, any questions about Diablo? Anything?
Not really. I mean, I watched a bunch of people stream it when it came out. It's like, I wasn't able to, because I was in the middle of a move, so I was like, well, I'll just watch it. Other people play it.
They do have another test coming up, but it's the same day Zelda comes out, so.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be able to, that'll be Zelda Day.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, do you know what class you're going to play? Or have you looked
Barbarian, from the sounds of it.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
And they are changing his... they're giving him more damage resistance when he melees, too, in the final game. Because they put out some notes from like, hey, here's what we learned from the beta, and here's what we're going to change. Nice. They're buffing the Druid and the Barbarian a lot. Yeah, and Necromancer seemed neat too. I didn't play a whole lot with him, and he seems kind of, from what the internet's saying, the most overpowered. How about Resident Evil 4?
So I played, I played a lot of Resident Evil 4 remake, a lot of it.
Did you beat it?
That game, I did beat it. I beat it twice.
Oh shit!
So. That game is probably the best game that came out this year so far. To be honest, that game is so good. It's like crazy. I'm not the most familiar with Resident Evil 4. I know a little bit. I beat it twice when I was a kid. Yeah. That game is just it's this amazing, beautiful love letter to one of the greatest games ever made, Resident Evil 4. And it's just like, man. They could have messed that up really bad, and somehow they didn't. They made it, I wouldn't say better, but like they made something that is on the same level as the original release. Wow. My opinion.
It looks gorgeous.
It is. That RE engine is magic. I'm convinced.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like the best engine out there right now. I mean, obviously Unreal Engine is so damn flexible. But hey, this is flexible too, because they used it for Monster Hunter Rise, of course, Resident Evil games. Are they using it for Street Fighter 6?
I think so.
I think so
I'm
too.
Not sure. It definitely. I think. I'm gonna say yes, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I think actually Capcom is just kind of using it across the board. If they ever do a big AAA Mega Man again, I'm sure they'll use that too.
Hopefully.
And yeah, and like I said, they used it for Monster Hunter Rise, which was on Switch first too. So it's like it's so damn flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like I wonder, if Capcom were to license that out outside of Capcom, if it would, kind of be neck and neck with Unreal Engine, because like just from our point of view, it feels that damn good. I don't know what it's like to work with, obviously, but yeah. How much have they? Because I don't know anything about Resident Evil hardly. How much have they changed from the GameCube game to
not a whole lot. They made changes where it makes sense for me. Like they made Lewis less of a creep in this one.
Okay.
There's like they kept everyone was freaking out because they thought Huey the dog was not in the game, and he is in the game. I can confirm that. The things that did change though, one of the big things was the Krauser fight, which was like they made it more into like Devil May Cry style kind of thing. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the same with just like improvements, I'd say, not really changes.
Excellent. Well, I mean, considering how beloved that original one is, that might not be such a bad thing.
Yeah.
I know sure. I'd kind of heard that Resident Evil 2 made a lot of changes.
It did.
I don't know about 3. I haven't heard.
3 cut an entire section out of the game.
Was it a good cut? Did that section suck?
In my opinion, it's a good cut, and I'm just not a big Resident Evil 3 fan, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a lot of people are mad about the clock tower being cut, but I don't really care.
All right. I don't think that's proper, but I played the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. We got him. Sonic's dead.
Yep, it happened finally.
Spoilers. He's not really dead. Sorry to disappoint.
Oh man.
Visual novels are not my thing. But hey, this was such a goofy thing. This was an April Fool's joke that they actually did. And those are the best ones, right? I remember I used to be a big fan of Marvel Heroes Omega. And they, at one point, did an April Fool's joke of a playable Taskmaster. And everyone goes, ah, ha, ha, ha. And the next day, like, no, it's actually real and it's in the game right now. And it was kind of they patched his, since he's, a mimic, they patched his moveset together with bits of Captain America and Wolverine and Spider-Man and whatever. I like when they do an April Fool's joke and then say, no, it's not a joke, it's real. And that's what this was. The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's free. It's on Steam. It's only on PC. And since I played it on the Steam Deck, I had a real tough time if you watch my video, because in order to stream it, I have to have it run through my dock. Like, I can't just plug my Steam Deck into my Elgato. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't use a controller in that game because you got to use a mouse and keyboard. It was a huge to-do, but I eventually figured something out and made it happen. I had to hold my Steam Deck on my lap and play it with the touchscreen and stream it to my Steam Link and then run my Steam Link to my Elgato. And big mess, but it worked eventually. And yeah, it's charming. It's cute. It's a little funny. It's not, hysterical, but for a free thing that's just kind of tearing into Sonic a little bit. Maybe not even tearing into, but just kind of poking fun at Sonic. I had a good time with it.
I had watched somebody stream this game.
Yeah.
And I found it to be kind of sweet at times, to be honest.
Yeah. It is.
There's like moments where I was like, oh, that's like actually really nice.
Yeah, it's a charming game. They did my boy Charmy B dirty. He's not in the game at all. There's a couple of characters who weren't in the game at all that surprised me, but most of your big ones are there. Sonic, Tails, Amy, Knuckles, Shadow.
I can't believe they killed Charmy B. It's messed up.
Yeah, I know. Charmy B.
Put him down.
There was a couple. Now it's been a couple weeks. I'm trying to remember who else wasn't there, but there was a few others I remember. Espio and Vector were there, but I think Omega wasn't.
Was Silver the Hedgehog there?
No silver, no omega.
No, that's lame.
I know. No Cream the Rabbit. They haven't used Cream the Rabbit in a while. It's weird how much I care about Sonic side characters.
Yeah, it's funny because like Sonic Frontiers came out, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I actually kind of like Sonic.
That's kind of the way I felt with Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. I had then found a place online that has like all the most recent run of Sonic comics, and I started reading a couple of those. I stopped eventually, but I read a couple issues.
It's so funny how we were all so down on Sonic for a while, and now I've come around at least. And be like, actually, Sonic's actually pretty cool.
They got some big additions coming to Sonic Frontiers that they showed about.
They're still doing the roadmap, I think, right?
Yeah, and that game sold very, very well. Sega did a financial call. I mean, Sonic has always kind of sold well, even when it's bad. But this seems like Sonic's back in a big way. Of course, the movies helped with that too. But
they think they found the formula that works for Sonic.
Yeah. I didn't play Sonic Frontiers, but yeah, it sounds like people generally like it. It's got some rough patches and some issues, but hey, it's a good starting point.
Yeah, I like that game. I definitely do.
Yeah. You also like Elder Scrolls Online. What's the name of this new expansion?
So the one that's coming up is called Necrom.
Oh, it's not out yet?
It's in same week as FF16, so big week for me then. Yeah, I'm playing through the Morrowind expansion right now because I have ESO Plus, and that means I get every chapter, and I've just been going through them.
Whoa, you don't need to brag about it.
Yeah, no, I got ESO Plus, guys. I really love that game. It's become my comfort game. I'll just play it when I get home from work to wind down. They made an Elder Scrolls game and then just populate it with other people. That's what that game is, and it's awesome.
Nice. How do you play with other people, or are you just kind of soloing it?
Right now, I'm just soloing it.
Okay.
But I am in a couple Discords where people get together and play, and I just kind of watch from a distance right now. But
yeah. So how does the fact that it's an MMO, how do the other people kind of affect or disrupt what you're doing, if at all?
Well, they don't really. It's more you're just you're playing an Elder Scrolls game, and other people are around you.
Okay. And
you can duel them or join their guilds. But because you have the PvP and the PvE elements, I haven't messed around with any of that yet. I know the PvE thing is actually really fun, the trials and stuff. The PvP stuff is more like a battle royale, I think.
Oh shit!
But it's actually the community around it are actually really cool. It's definitely people who really love, I love Elder Scrolls, but there's people out there also really love Elder Scrolls, and it's just a bunch of all of us kind of in one game, as a community.
People say the same thing about a great community in Fallout 76. And it feels like if your game is kind of overlooked or maligned, the people who get into it are they almost feel hey, the rest of the world hates our game, so now it's kind of us against the world, so we got to take care of each other. I don't know if
it's that, and you know what else it is? It's the people who really love Elder Scrolls don't care about it's an MMO. They're just it's more Elder Scrolls. I'm gonna play this game. I don't care if it's an MMO or not.
Oh, that's funny.
It's really good. I really enjoy it. It makes me want to mess around more with Fallout 76. To be honest with you,
a game we're going to talk about in a little bit here had me kind of thinking about Fallout 76 because I never touched that game. I didn't even love Fallout 4, so I don't know why I'm thinking about Fallout 76, but mostly because of building, which we'll talk about in a couple games here. Give me the elevator pitch on Necrom, on the new thing coming up.
I don't know the exact details. Okay. I just know that it's set in a region called Necrom, and they're adding the necromancy class.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the plot details. So I to be honest with you, I didn't watch the trailer because I don't like spoilers that much.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I don't know the details.
Okay. Well,
I do know when I bought what's up?
It's just that adding the necromancer feels like a big deal.
It is a big deal, yeah.
What were you about to say? Sorry.
So I will say, when I purchased the expansion, I got a horse made out of mushrooms, so that's pretty dope.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, it has a couple mushrooms on its body,
No.
or it's made out of mushrooms?
It's made out of fungus. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Like, what are they called in The Last of Us? Cordyceps? Or
Yeah, kinda.
Wow.
It's really cool looking.
I need to see a picture of that. That sounds crazy. Yeah, both Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online. I don't know why. Like, I never got into either. I'm not an Elder Scrolls guy or a Fallout guy, but just so I always kind of wonder, and I wondered about this with kind of Soulsborne games for a while until Wo Long, which I actually didn't put on our list because I didn't play it for that long. But I always kind of think, well, maybe if I can play it in co-op, I might enjoy it more than I do.
Yeah.
I might see what makes it more special if I, play it with somebody I have fun with. So I'm always kind of curious about maybe dipping into Fallout 76 or Elder Scrolls Online, and thought, well, maybe if I play this with somebody else, it might make me see the magic.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't done it yet in either case. And honestly, I'd probably do Fallout before Elder Scrolls. Probably. I don't know.
Fallout is the more like the more not approachable, I'd say. Because Elder Scrolls, like, a lot of it's very an open-ended fantasy thing, very inspired by D&D. So, like, it's not something that's, I wouldn't say it's niche, but it's not something that's as approachable as Fallout.
Yeah. And I'm just better at shooting things than I am at slashing things. Well, speaking of that, I did Destiny 2 Lightfall, of course. Which, I'm sure you probably could have guessed that I would play Destiny 2 Lightfall.
Wow, I would never guess.
I know, shocking, right? So when this expansion first came out, it got immediately, like, shit upon, and thought, well, this is the worst thing in the world, because the story is definitely not what we wanted as Destiny fans. But kind of now, time has passed, and the first season is now completed, and we really got a feel of the new subclass, most importantly, or the new element, I should say, Strand, which comes with 3 new subclasses, one for Titan, one for Hunter, and one for Warlock. I play Titan, of course. Mm-hmm. It feels a lot better now. First of all, Strand rules. It just does. Whipping around, and it's funny, I don't even use... So, during the campaign, you don't have Strand till the end as your own. You don't permanently gain it, but there are parts in the campaign where, like, you can borrow it, and you don't really get to choose. You don't get to customize it at that point. So it gave me the grappling hook constantly, which now I'm not even using the grappling hook because my build, it doesn't really fit my build, which is kind of a shame because the grapple hook is so much fun, and it doesn't. It's kind of like Monster Hunter Rise, actually, where you can shoot it up in the air, and you don't necessarily need to hook it on anything. It doesn't have to hit a wall or a ceiling or whatever. It'll just grab space. They say, the strands permeate throughout the whole universe or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So you can do that, and you can hook yourself onto your friends. Like, if one of your friends has a Titan arc subclass, and he's got the kind of thing that makes him into a missile, then you can hook yourself onto him and follow him.
Sick. That's great.
It's not easy to do, but it's cool as hell. And you can hook yourself onto vehicles that are going by, and it just opens up the whole game. It feels, it almost feels damn near as good as Titanfall 2.
Wow.
As far as movement goes. Although it's been a long time since I played Titanfall 2, so maybe that's my memory failing me. But yeah, it feels awesome. And so, yeah, like I said, the story was disappointing. But Destiny's been moving on to, they do their one big expansion a year and have 4 seasons. And the seasonal stories have been getting better and more impactful. So it's almost okay that the expansion story wasn't great if they make it up in the seasons, which the first season was good. Well, something big happens. I'll just say that. Okay. That's going to really affect things down the line. So it almost kind of wipes away that the expansion story was disappointing. And there was a couple boss fights in the expansion that were just fucking, really 2 in particular. And you can watch or stream my videos on it. So see us struggle. We're just fucking so ridiculously hard. And took us hours and hours of just repeating this boss over and over and over. We eventually did it, but it was not easy, and it was maybe more... Like, of course, it feels good when it finally happens, but maybe it wasn't worth the frustration there. Yeah, but, hey, it's more Destiny. If you like Destiny, you're playing Destiny, you got more Destiny. And I'm never going to complain about that. Well, no, that's not true. Destiny fans love to complain about Destiny. Nobody complains about Destiny more than people who love Destiny. But that's kind of the way with any ongoing game, right?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of MMOs, that is sort of the way forward for the community is this game sucks now because it's not like it was previous season. I'll get back to Destiny eventually. It is just so hard with their other MMOs that I just like get sucked into.
Absolutely. Now it's been probably about 2 months since I've played Destiny now, because of Zelda and some other stuff I was messing around with, some of these other games we talked about. But I think the new season's going to start, pretty soon. I don't remember exactly when. I might push it off till after Tears of the Kingdom and shit. And then after that, I'm going to have Diablo. When I have to balance Destiny and Diablo, I'm going to have a real tough time.
Oh God. That sounds horrifying.
Yeah. But also so much fun. And the last thing I played, and you played some of this too, we got into Valheim when it hit Game Pass. Which now it hit Game Pass, I guess, like 2 months ago now, I want to say. But we got into it, and we actually had a friend of ours set up a private server for us and a couple other people, so that randoms weren't messing with our game. And I don't typically like survival games or crafting games or stick in a rock games. But something about Valheim got me hooked for there was a couple weeks there where I was just playing nothing but that.
That game is so cool. I really do enjoy it.
It really is. And I think maybe the biggest thing, honestly, that made it hook for me in a way other survival games didn't is that eating and drinking water and all this stuff, it's not oppressive. It's not.
Yeah. It's very much light on that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. It really just kind of lets you do what you want to do without punishing you necessarily. Not to say that it's easy all the time. It depends where you go in the game and what you're trying to do. But yeah, man. And there's always the next carrot on the stick for you. It's always every time you do something, it's like, oh, okay, I can easily see the next thing that I want to do and the next thing that I want to do. Yep. You always have a goal. You always have something to be working toward. I've made my house pretty damn cool, in my opinion. Lisa's house is right next to mine. Actually, yours is next to mine, too.
Yep. I was up by Piggy Smalls, the coolest pig ever.
They're still alive. I kept my original 2 boars alive, and all their children I slaughter for meat. Yeah, and I made a pretty cool house. Lisa made a very cool house. She's got a basement underneath and everything. Man, there's just I can waste so much time in that game. It is a complete time suck. And yeah, like I said, it's on Game Pass now on console and on PC, with crossplay. And boy, I can just let the hours slip away in that. Mm-hmm. I'm not, the combat's not the deepest or anything, but it feels pretty nice. There's a block button. You can get yourself a shield eventually. There's a lot of different types of weapons, and it's not even done yet. The game's in early access, so they still got a ways to go. I've now put it down for a little while. My house is probably a mess now. I don't know. I've kind of put roofs over everything so the rain wouldn't do too much damage, but I don't know what it's like now. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's all the games.
We played a lot of games.
Yeah, that was a whole lot. That's our longest game section. So I guess let's go ahead and go straight into our big topic here, and it's all about Xbox. Yeah. A lot of stuff has happened. A ton of stuff. And kind of the overall state of Xbox right now, at this moment, doesn't feel great.
Nope.
That being said, it is important to put things into context because in a way, I think things are getting overstated, like the panic.
It is.
Yeah, I do believe that they have just had like the number 1 and number 2 most profitable quarters like ever. Yeah. I think. So it's important to keep that in mind. But kind of the state of the console, and especially, their AAA games, seems pretty dire right now.
Yeah.
Again, though, but they are doing, I think, an excellent job with AA games. Hi-Fi Rush was awesome. Pentiment was awesome. Grounded was awesome. They did a miraculous job porting Age of Empires 2 to console and making it work with a controller.
It's nuts what they did for Age of Empires 2. Like, I never in my lifetime would I ever thought I'd see that happen, to be honest with you.
So the whole Xbox has no games thing is complete bullshit. But you could say, hey, they don't have AAA games. They don't have exclusive, well, at least not great ones.
Well, I think the Xbox has no games thing is more like a casual thing. Because it's like, people, you and me, we play a lot of indie games, play a lot of AA games. But like at the same time, I think about this from an outside perspective, from people who really liked like FIFA and Madden and like play an occasional game like Starfield, for example. Like they're excited for that. When you look at what Xbox has right now coming up, it's pretty thin for those people.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's gonna kind of depend on when the hell we're gonna see Fable and Perfect Dark and all these games that still feel like they were announced a long time ago, and they still feel to me like they're far off.
Yeah.
I guess we'll know in June if that's correct, because I imagine we'll get updates on a few of those, and maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe Fable will be next year, but I kind of doubt it. And a lot of this was exacerbated by Redfall coming out, and Redfall is a game I believe I've said on this show was my most anticipated game of the year, and oh boy. That didn't go well.
Yeah, so I played about a half hour of this piece of shit, to be honest with you.
Oh, man.
I really hated what I played, not gonna lie. And I have heard the argument put forth that people are worried about other Xbox games because of this game. And the more I hear Phil Spencer talk about it, and the more I kind of like think about the sort of trajectory of this thing, I don't really think this was ever going to be a good game. I don't think there was ever a future where this could, like you said, I think in the chat a couple weeks ago that they should delay it again. I don't know if that would have helped.
Yeah, now I think that too. So there's before this game came out, there were three things that I knew were going to be a problem. One was 60 frames a second, or lack thereof, 60 frames a second on console. One was host-only story progression. So if you play co-op, only the host actually moves the story forward. And the other was always online, which actually I don't care about always online, but a lot of other people do. So I thought delay it until you fix those three things. But it turns out the game's got a lot more problems than that.
It does.
Yeah.
Chief among those, the game is ugly. I posted a screenshot on Facebook of NBC I saw, and my friend Matt pointed out he looks like a pizza parlor statue. It's just not. I just don't think it was ever going to be a good game. I think,
and that I feel like, and actually, it's funny. This kind of reminds me of how I feel about Recore, where on paper, I think this could have been if they'd executed the idea well. I think this is an idea that could have been a big exclusive for Xbox, because people love Borderlands. They do. It's very popular. If Xbox had their own exclusive Borderlands with kind of, it's not horror, but it's kind of a light spooky vibe, now
it's very much Stephen King-esque.
Yeah. Which right now, horror feels back with Resident Evil blowing up, and even a little Dead Space and stuff. Like, if they had their own Borderlands with a light horror thing and it was executed well, I think this could have been, not as big as Halo, but a pretty damn big thing for them. Maybe on the level of like a Sea of Thieves or something, but it just was not executed well. And, I think similar things with Recore. And Recore is funny because that is a game that launched poorly. They later did a definitive edition, which they reworked a lot of it. Not just like, we fixed the technical issues, but like, we changed the structure of this. Yeah. And now that game's fucking awesome, and I'd recommend it to anybody, but it was too late. How many people went back and played it after they fixed it?
No one cared about Recore once it came out.
I know. It's a damn shame. If it had been that way at launch, I think we would have got a Recore too, I think. And same thing with Redfall. Now, even if they fix it, I don't know if it'll matter.
The core concept is really cool. It's just unfortunate it's in the state it is, and I just don't. I just look at the thing and I'm like, I don't think this was ever going to be good. I just did not. The story is boring and nonsensical. It's just not.
And it looks to me like I didn't even play this game. I told you how much I was looking forward to it, and I was just so bummed out with the way the reviews went that I'm like, I'm not even going to mess with it. But one thing it looked to me like was that the characters' abilities look boring and unimpactful.
Yeah, boring, unimpactful. Is ugly. Really ugly.
Yeah.
It's
a damn shame.
You know, it feels soulless in a way that I don't expect from Arcane.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. It's just a damn shame how that went. And you had mentioned the Phil Spencer interview. Did you watch that whole thing?
I watched clips of it because I was at work when it came out.
I would recommend if you get time to go ahead. So this was on Kind of Funny Games Xcast, if people don't know. Phil Spencer went on. They booked him a couple weeks ago, and they didn't know that Activision-Blizzard was going to get blocked, which we haven't talked about that yet, but we're going to talk about Activision in a minute.
Oh, God.
They didn't know about Redfall, so, like... And it was the same day they had announced that their Summer Games Fest show, so, like, they had planned, hey, we're going to talk about Phil and hype up the Summer Games Fest shit, and it turned out, and then the shit hit the fan right before they had him. So this interview, you got to give him credit. He could have canceled. He absolutely could have canceled, but he still went on, and he faced the music, and they were, pretty tough on him. Not even like, hey, Phil, you fucked up here, but more just like, hey, talk to us here. What's really going on, and what's really the problem?
And honestly, you don't usually get this level of openness.
Absolutely not. Jim Ryan would never do this.
Yeah, he would be like, actually, I would like to. What was that thing he did in the emails where he was like, I love cats and dogs?
Yeah, he had adopted a dog. It was right after, I think, Roe v. Wade was struck down.
Oh, God.
What the fuck? And, I don't even think Doug Bowser would do this. No. Maybe not even Reggie. I mean, Reggie's, he's faced some tough questions.
Reggie threatens people on Twitter.
Oh, God, that was hilarious. If people don't know, Reggie, somebody posted that they are playing Tears of the Kingdom, the leaked version, and Reggie quoted taken at him, that whole thing about I got a special set of skills and shit. Which I don't even know why Reggie cares anymore. He doesn't work there.
Yeah, you just, he was just having a day.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think he was just fucking around. He thought it was funny, probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, you got to give Phil credit for that. And he had, he seemed depressed about this whole thing. Like, you can't say he's not taking it hard. And honestly, one of the things I would maybe expect him to go on there and maybe no-sell it a bit and be like, hey, because the game's on Game Pass and on Steam, you could maybe say, hey, 1 million people are playing it. That's great. But no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He was super honest about it. And I was like, you know what? I respect that.
Mm-hmm. And super honest about a lot of things. One of the things that he had mentioned that kind of is blowing up, and a lot of people, of course, are taking us out of, not even just taking it out of context, but they're just completely misrepresenting what he said. He had mentioned that, hey, we're not going to sell more consoles than Sony or Nintendo just by putting out good games. Because the Xbox One, PS4 generation was where so many people built their digital libraries. So many people bought a PS4 and bought hundreds of games digitally. No matter if Starfield is an 11 out of 10, is what he said, his words, they're not just going to give up all that.
No, they won't do it.
Get rid of their PlayStations and switch to Xbox. Maybe they can sell them an Xbox as a second console. That's fine, but that's not going to change the market share.
No.
And that's kind of what he said. And then people took that to mean, oh, he's saying they don't need to make great games, which, no, that's not what he said.
Not at all what he said.
Not even close.
And I think, honestly, he's correct. There's
100%.
There's nothing they can do. It's just like, they lost where it sucked the most.
Absolutely. And that's why they've shifted their plan where console sales, I'm not saying they're not important, but they're not the most important thing. That's why they're on PC. That's why they're going to cloud. That's why they make subscriptions such a big thing. They can't win by playing that same old game. They have to change the game they're playing. which is what they're trying to do. And like I said, they're making money, so it's not like they're failing at that.
No.
They are failing at selling consoles for some reasons that are their fault, some reasons that aren't. They also still have Series X supply issues, which is really bizarre to me.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all.
It's so weird. Like, it felt like a year ago they got their shit straight before Sony and then just fell off a cliff as far as getting Series X's out there. Series S's are abundant, but, that's kind of... I've seen some evidence that the Series S is kind of flopped. I don't know if that's...
I have one, and I really want a Series X, to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest fan.
I love my Series X. I don't blame you. I'm still playing it all the time, even without these, first-party bangers. So we still got to get into the Activision side of this thing, but kind of before we jump into that, is there anything else in the Phil Spencer interview? You know what? Actually, I got something else on that. One thing he had mentioned, one of the reasons this happened, when they acquired Activision-Blizzard, Starfield and Redfall were both in development. Redfall was further along. He had mentioned they have trouble getting involved in a game that they acquire halfway through that's far along already. Mm-hmm. Which is why, like he said, they had the Coalition and Rare come in to try to get the 60 frames a second working, but they just came in too late. And we've always kind of heard that, especially with the studios they've acquired, with Bethesda in particular, Xbox has been pretty hands-off to let them do their thing, which, there's positives to that, obviously. You don't want too much corporate heavy-handedness and I don't know, just telling them what to make. You want them to have creative freedom, but also, hey, you got to support them as well.
Yeah, I think that Bethesda in particular have such like a distinct, all their studios have such a distinct style and how they make games. It doesn't make sense to kind of jump in there and be like, change that up, do this. It's like, I wouldn't, if I was Phil, I wouldn't mess with that.
Yeah, well, but in this case, and that worked for Hi-Fi Rush, and I kind of worked for Ghostwire Tokyo. Like, the game's not amazing, but it's there. But it didn't work this time. Like, this was a case where they needed to jump in, and they weren't able to, at least not in time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's gonna have to be a case by case basis. They can't be completely hands off. They can't be completely hands on. I don't know the right balance to find there. It's not an easy problem to solve.
No.
And I believe Matt Booty does not actually. Matt Booty's head of first party at Xbox Game Studios. I don't think he touches the Bethesda stuff. I think there's another guy. I can't remember his name. It's not Pete Hines, but I think there's somebody else too, who kind of does that side of things. But I do wonder if maybe, like I'd mentioned that they had the Coalition and Rare come in. Well, I wonder if there was more of a relationship between the Xbox Game Studios side of things and the Bethesda side of things, if that would have happened earlier. I don't know.
There's no way to tell.
Yeah,
we don't work for Microsoft as much as we love Xbox. It's just like is what it is.
But something's off though for sure.
Something. Though I am not of the opinion that I am worried for future game releases, because I'm looking at Redfall. I'm like I just don't know. I don't know.
Sure. I'm not either really, but and again, the showcase coming up in June is gonna tell the tale. There's kind of among the Xbox community, there's been a group that they're now calling the Elusive Five, of 5 games that they showed CG trailers of, and we haven't heard a damn word of since. It's Fable, Perfect Dark, Everwild, State of Decay 3, and Avowed. And also you could throw Contraband in there. And
the Indiana Jones game, though. That Todd Howard's working on.
I forgot about that. Shit. So yeah, if this showcase happens in June and we don't get updates on at least 3 of those or so, man.
I'll take just one, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I know. I would like to see what Perfect Dark actually is going to be. I'd like to see what Everwild is. What the hell is that game?
Everwild is something where I look at that and I'm real worried it might be NFT related. Not gonna lie.
They wouldn't.
I'm real worried.
I don't think they would do that.
I don't think so either, but there's a small part of me that's like, maybe it is.
Shit, don't scare me. Yeah, I think the art style of that game's incredible. So
Oh, it looks cool. Looks
I
really
hope
awesome.
I hope it's a game. I don't know.
I hope it's a game too.
And then, all right, now we got to talk about Activision-Blizzard.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right, so, I mean, since our last recording, there was a lot of ups and downs and shit, but the big thing here is that the CMA, who is kind of the regulator, God, my throat's hurting, kind of the regulator in the UK, has blocked Activision-Blizzard King from being bought by Xbox. Did they do it because of Call of Duty? No. At least not officially. They did it because of cloud gaming. And according to them, Xbox has a big lead in cloud gaming already. And they think with Call of Duty on their side, they would be able to shut out anybody else. Now, it seems their math is flawed because they are, when they say that Xbox has a big lead in cloud gaming, they're counting all Game Pass Ultimate subscribers in that. And because they all have access to cloud gaming, but they're not all using it.
No, I don't. I have Game Pass Ultimate. I don't use cloud streaming at all.
Me neither. I've tested it out a couple times just to mess around with it, but I've never actually played anything on there. Yeah, so this seems ass backwards. And this was one of the things Phil talked about in his interview about, hey, this isn't a market yet. And it's never going to be, at least in my opinion, it's never going to be a separate market. Like, it's always going to be this. There's not going to be, maybe not any, or at least not many, cloud-only games. It's still going to be the same games that you're getting on PC and console, I think.
I look at remember few years ago, everyone was like, VR is the future. VR will replace video games. Like, everyone's like, VR. Yeah. VR is its own market now. It's not, we're not all living in the fucking Matrix. I'm not in a Ryu skin right now talking to Chun-Li, you know.
Except for in Fortnite.
And in Fortnite I am all the time. But, you know, cloud, it'll never replace what we have, to be honest with you. I don't think it will.
Yeah. No, and it's always, in my opinion, just going to be a supplemental thing, almost like it's almost like the new version of handheld gaming. Of like, hey, they used to make specific handheld consoles, and I guess you could say with the Steam Deck and that ROG thing coming out, they still do. But like, I don't know. It's not. It's just such a weird decision, I think. Yeah. It honestly felt to me like this thing. They announced they were going to acquire Activision-Blizzard. The CMA immediately said in their heads, no, that's too big. We're not going to allow that. And they tried to work backwards to make it make sense.
Well, I'm of the opinion that because we live in times we do, and CMA and the FCC have allowed a lot of these corporations get away with a lot of shit. Like, Warner Brothers was on their 5th or 6th merger. Monsanto is this giant mega corporation that owns everything, and they got away with so much, and people's eyes were on Activision Blizzard, and they decided they were going to want it to appear like they're taking a stand. Yeah,
I absolutely agree with you. And Disney with
Disney buying Fox, yeah.
Yeah, and Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's just all performative. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot, and what I was going to say about this is, do I sit up at night and worry whether or not Xbox owns Activision? Not really, to be honest with you. I
do.
But the reason why I worry that the employees of Activision are going to be hurt by this, that's my worry.
Absolutely. But I got a list here. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I look at it like, okay, I shouldn't root for a corporation to own another corporation. I won't do that. But
yeah, okay.
I won't sit there and be like, and not empathize with the people who work at Activision. I'm not like, it's not.
Absolutely. I hear, and when this thing broke, I was pissed. And I'm still kind of pissed, honestly. And I know I'm going to come off as a corporate cheerleader. I know I'm going to come off as an Xbox fanboy here. But I got a list here. Because now this broke a couple weeks ago. And I've been talking about it a lot to other people. And so I wanted to organize my thoughts a little bit. It's bad for ABK employees, as you mentioned. It's bad for anybody who wants Bobby Kotick to get the hell out. And yes, he would get a golden parachute, and that sucks, but he would at least be gone. It's bad for unionization for at least ABK, because Activision's not going to allow, or at least not going to be as cooperative as Microsoft is being to allow them to unionize. Now, it might happen anyway, and there are some unions forming in other companies now, which is good. But Bobby Kotick's going to fight that like
he's
fucking tooth and nail.
Yeah, he's going to start cracking down as soon as possible.
Yeah. It's bad for Game Pass subscribers who would like Call of Duty on Game Pass. It's bad for Switch players who were going to get Call of Duty. Xbox had signed that deal with Nintendo. Actually, I shouldn't say Switch, because I think it's more likely to be on the next console.
The Switch 2, Switch Plus, new Switch U.
It's bad for people who, I'm one of these, who I think Call of Duty would be a better franchise if it wasn't annual. And I think Xbox is in
I actually agree too.
I think Xbox is in a better position to do that than Activision is. It's bad for people who would like Activision to make other franchises like Spyro and Crash. I think Xbox needs family platformers, so I think they would have said, hey, Toys for Bob, get a new Crash, get a new Spyro. I guess Toys for Bob is doing that Crash team game now.
Team Rumble.
Yeah, which looks kind of neat, but I'm talking about a real platformer. I think it's bad for cloud gaming overall, because Activision games are not on any cloud service right now. They're not on the Xbox One. They're not on NVIDIA, GeForce. Which, by the way, I had heard, I should verify this, so don't take me as gospel on this, but I had heard that actually more people play NVIDIA than Xbox Cloud Gaming right now.
It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. It's bad for ending, and I think most of us want this to end, dumbass deals of exclusive content in one version of the game. Like PlayStation always does, hey, you get this extra mode in Call of Duty exclusive for 1 year for PlayStation. That shit's dumb. And and as more games adopt crossplay overall, we need to abolish that shit. And I think that would have helped, because the biggest perpetrator right now is Call of Duty, and obviously Xbox wasn't going to do that at least with PlayStation. And I think as part of the paperwork, they'd said they weren't going to do it even on Xbox. It's bad for if you want to see Apple and Google's duopoly of the App Stores challenged, because a big part of this was Microsoft was gonna, and probably still is gonna, open up their own app store that you would be able to access on. You'd definitely be able to access on Android, and you'd probably be able to do it on iPhone when there's a European law that's going to go through sometime next year that says, hey, Apple, you have to allow other stores on your platforms. And so Xbox was going to open up, or Microsoft, I should say, was going to open up one, because they would have Candy Crush, they would have Call of Duty Mobile, they would have Hearthstone, Diablo Immortal, in addition to the games they already have, like Solitaire, and which don't laugh, Solitaire on mobile's a big deal.
I know a lot of old ladies at work who really love their Solitaire.
Yeah. And bad for anyone who wants to see Sony challenged more in the console space, because you put Call of Duty on Game Pass, I think people would buy more Xboxes. Maybe not a ton. Maybe not, like, there were some research out there that said 2% of PlayStation people would switch.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Me neither. But I think it would be hey, it would just challenge
Sony
more.
It would sell Xboxes, though. I think it would, but I don't know. 2%, that seems too high.
Yeah. And so that was kind of my list here. So yeah, I'm not happy about this. Even if, you can call me a fanboy if you'd like, and I know I kind of sound that way. I get it, but I think those are all pretty good reasons.
No, I agree. I agree with there are bad things about this. I look at this and I'm like, all right, I have to remember Microsoft is not my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's not, they're still a terrible, terrible company sometimes.
But they're less terrible than
they are.
What's going on now.
They are less terrible than other companies, for sure.
Yeah. They're the best bad guy.
Yeah, they're the lesser evil.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and they're going to appeal. I'm not an expert on how that works in the UK, but my understanding now, it goes to a board called CAT. I don't know what CAT stands for.
It's a great name, though.
Yeah, and they will. I don't believe, I've heard some conflicting things about this, but I don't believe they can straight up overrule the CMA. They can decide that the CMA's process wasn't done right, or like they can't necessarily disagree with their opinion, but they can say, hey, your process wasn't done right, so do it again.
Yeah.
And so then it just goes right back to the CMA, the same people. So like, it feels to me like there's maybe like a 5 to 10% chance of this working out.
Yeah.
And that sucks, I think.
It does suck. It sucks for the Activision employees. I really hope they do unionize. I hope
Absolutely.
I hope Bobby Kotick falls down a flight of stairs or something. I don't know.
Absolutely. It also sucks because it feels like Xbox has been kind of stuck in the mud in the last year while dealing with this.
Yeah.
Yes. I think they're working with Crystal Dynamics on Perfect Dark, and they're working with Eidos Montreal on Fable. Square sold those two studios to Embracer.
Yeah.
I bet Xbox would have bought them if they weren't tied up with this. Yep. And I bet they probably would have bought at this point. And I don't know for sure, obviously, but they worked with Asobo on Flight Simulator. They're also the team that did A Plague Tale. How weird is that the team that did Plague Tale also did Flight Sim?
It's so weird, but like for some reason in my head it makes sense.
Yeah, they might have grabbed them. They might have grabbed Creative Assembly, or not Creative Assembly, of what's that one? Certain Affinity, who is doing the Halo Battle Royale, not Battle Royale thing.
Marathon? No, I'm just kidding. That's budget.
Well, yeah. Tatanka is the code name of it. Hopefully we'll see that in June. Mm-hmm. There's a couple like the people who talk about Sony's organic growth of studios. They only buy studios that they have a close relationship with, which isn't entirely true. But people talk about that. Well, shit, I think there's a couple studios that Xbox could have had organic growth with in that time if they weren't busy. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just not. I don't think it's gonna work out.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But actually, that brings up the point. Oh, and I'm glad you mentioned that because, Phil Spencer had said like a year ago or so when this was kind of all thing, and said, if you don't have a plan for mobile, you're not going to be relevant for very long. Because unfortunately, I don't play many mobile games. I don't think you do either. So we don't care about this. But reality is, the people who play games on console and PC is kind of plateauing, but people who play games on mobile is spiking huge. That's where the future growth is to get new gamers. And Sony's opened a mobile division, and Microsoft has dabbled in mobile, but they don't have a good foothold in there. I worry that if they don't find a way to get into mobile in a big way, eventually Microsoft is going to stop giving so much money to the gaming division.
Yeah. And
I don't know what the alternative is, because maybe I don't know mobile companies that well, but like if you can't get King, who do you get?
Well,
MiHoYo?
They can't get this Angry Bird team anymore.
Well, if they get all of Sega, they could.
They could. I honestly don't think they should go for Sega at this point after this. Maybe don't.
I mean, I kind of think that's the best bet. If you're blocked completely on ABK,
maybe.
Because then you also you get strength in your PC stuff with like Total War, and
you also
football.
Get Yakuza. So I mean, hey, pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Sega's got a good lineup too. I think they're not bad as a second best option.
No, they're pretty cool. I don't know. I personally, I would just open up our own mobile studio, figure it out from there. But like, I
mean, if you can, yeah. But I also think it's going to take more than just one studio. Like, I think it's going to, and that's why like even Sega, I don't know if that's going to. It's not as good as like people. When people bring up mobile, they just think of, in regards to Activision, ABK, they just think of King. But there's also Call of Duty Mobile, big ass deal, and Diablo Immortal's a big ass deal, and so is Hearthstone. So
it turns out we do all have phones.
Yeah, there's nobody as good as ABK for Microsoft's mobile needs.
It's the big one.
Yeah. I think the second best option would be MiHoYo, but I don't think that's going to happen. They do, if people don't know, MiHoYo is the company that does Genshin Impact, and now Honkai Star Rail just came out. But yeah, they're close with Sony, and even so, like they're are they in China or are they in South Korea?
South Korea, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't see that happening, but yeah, I don't know. If this doesn't happen, Xbox needs a mobile plan.
It does.
And I don't know if there's many good options for that.
I would buy whatever.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yes, Raid Shadow. You've read my mind.
Honestly, maybe not a bad idea. I don't know the mobile market well enough, so it's hard for me to say. But
if they bought Raid Shadow Legends, how hype would you be for a console a console spinoff? I would.
Not at all.
I would. Have you seen some of the orc women in those games?
No, I haven't.
That game is weirdly horny.
Yeah, I still feel like there was something else I was gonna say about all this, but I don't know. We'll wait and see. We're in it for even longer now. This is probably going until next year.
God, please end it.
I know. When something big happens like this, like the CMA block, I don't mind talking about it then. But when it's normally all these kind of small things, and it feels like we can't ignore it, but I'm also kind of sick of just regurgitating the same stuff. Yeah. But this was a big thing. This was the biggest thing so far.
Yeah, this was a definitive decision. Well, somewhat definitive in that they could sort of appeal it, but it's kind of a big blow.
Yeah, it's a huge blow. And just today, they hired a lawyer team that apparently has had successful appeals in the EU before. Which, if people don't know, the purchase agreement says they need US, UK, EU, and China. Those are the big four. And then they want everybody else too, but those are the four that are absolutely necessary. The U.S. also blocked it, but they're most likely going to lose in court, bad. I don't think anybody's really...
we suck.
Yeah. Well, their reasoning, too, was also dumb.
Yeah.
If people could come up with It's been now about a year and a half this thing's going, and I'm, open for somebody to give me a good reason why it should be blocked. And, hey, like I said, maybe I'm an Xbox guy first and foremost, so maybe I'm biased here, but so far nobody's given me a good reason, I don't think, other than just hey, they're a big company. And yeah, they are, but
I do think it is a little silly when people are they're going to create a monopoly. I'm I don't necessarily think they are.
No, they can't. You're not going to kill Sony. And especially, hell, Call of Duty's going to remain on Sony for at least 10 years, and I think forever. I don't think they're ever going to take it away.
Especially with Phil Spencer coming out and be yeah, we lost super hard last generation. Yeah. It's not happening. If anything, Sony will create a monopoly.
Yeah, fucking honestly, that worries me sometimes. Hey, at least Nintendo's still hanging in there.
Yeah.
Nintendo's on. I've been playing just Breath of the Wild. I've been playing my Switch so much, and I also bought Advance Wars, which I wanted to get some time in and talk about in this episode, but I didn't make time for it because of Breath of the Wild. I guess that's it for ABK. So we're gonna be on this train for quite a while still.
God.
It sucks.
Oh, God.
The EU decision comes in 2 weeks, I think, which they're expected to pass it, but hey, so was the UK. So
we'll find out.
Who knows? If the EU, actually, I will say, if the EU blocks it, then Microsoft probably just drops it at that point.
Yeah.
Because that's bad.
It's not good.
Then you got to appeal in the US, the UK, and the EU. And I don't know what the appeals process is like in the EU, but probably probably easier than the UK. Actually, to insert myself into UK politics for a moment.
Oh, no.
Which I know. Doesn't it seem fucking off that the appeals process, that the CMA just seems to be such the final word, that an appeal process for them is only on merits of if they did their process wrong or not? Shouldn't there be a way to take them to court?
There should be more regulation there, because if you think about it, it's just a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Because they could just be oh, okay, it's the same decision again. We just took longer to do it.
Right. Yeah, you should. I mean, the way it works here is you can take the FTC to court. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously, I don't know, that doesn't sound nice, but it does feel like that's the way it should be.
Apparently, it's super easy.
Yeah, well, that too. Maybe that's a problem too. Maybe it shouldn't be so easy to win, but you should be able to take them to court if you believe they got it wrong. And that seems to be not an option at the CMA, which seems so ass backwards to me. But I'm not English, so maybe I'm out of my depth.
And that's why we dumped all their tea off a boat.
Yes. And, I don't know. Trying to make some joke about the coronation today, but I got nothing. All right, we're winding down here. We got a little bit of news, but like I said, we're not going to talk about many things. And one of the things I had on here was Zelda, but I think we pretty much covered that,
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Multiverses, this is now a couple weeks ago. The only reason I'm even bringing it up is because that's kind of been sort of a pet game of this podcast. Both of us were really into it when it first launched and then kind of fell off.
Yeah.
And something weird's happening here. And there's a lot of angles to tackle this because people seem pissed. I'm not pissed about this, but they've always kind of said they were an open beta, right?
Yeah.
Now they're kind of came out one day and said, surprise, we're shutting down in June. And we're going to stay shut down for at least half a year and come out swinging early next year. And the background on this, if you don't know, Multiverses has nosedived. It was looking really fucking bad. And the fan base was thinking any day, because, hey, Knockout City shut down, Rumbleverse shut down. Any day that the news was coming that Multiverse was shutting down. It's not. I take this as good news because this is me. I think this is them recognizing, hey, there's a problem here. It's not something we can fix by just chugging along and maybe, hey, we'll put out a couple good seasons. No, that's not going to work. Almost like shit where we're talking about with Xbox selling consoles. You had to do something drastic. And I'm glad that drastic thing is not shutting down. I mean, not, ending the game.
Yeah.
They're going to seemingly give it a real try.
Yeah. I will say it is a little convenient that they were like, oh, we were in open beta. Like we can just shut it down. I'm like, I wish they would just be more honest about it and be like, hey, this isn't working right now. We're going to shut down and just try again. Yeah,
you're right. And they have said some of they've identified some of the problem areas. Networking was net play, online play was getting bad. It was funny when it launched. I thought it was silky smooth, but it has apparently been getting pretty bad. Their progression and season passes were shitty.
Yeah.
They were just horrible. They were putting out a good cadence of characters at first, but that fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a new character since February-ish. So yeah, they've identified all this. They said, hey, these are the things we need to fix. We're going to do it. And I also think when they come back, they should have probably 5 or 6 new characters too.
It should be like an updated roster.
Yeah. And their single player mode sucked too. So
yeah, I never touched that.
Yeah, it's not good. Or I shouldn't even say single player because you can play it co-op, but whatever. Their campaign. So I'm feeling good about this. I know the community seems pretty split. Some of the people feel like me. Hey, they're really giving it a shot, and they're also hiring. By the way, Player First Games has a lot of job openings up, so that's a good sign too. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, hey, I paid for this, which also I paid for this too. I bought the most expensive edition of this. I paid $100. And people are like, well, we can't play it. I'm like, yeah, that's true, and that's a bummer. I agree. And I'm not happy that I can't play it for, over 6 months or so, but I'm happy they're not throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
It does it makes me feel more confident that my money's going to go to something long lasting than hey, just giving it up right now.
Rumbleverse just shuts down.
I know, and it's Dave Lang, the CEO of Iron Galaxy, was on Jeff Gershman's podcast a couple weeks ago talking about, and it's funny, he was on the same week this Multiverses news broke, and said like, hey, we considered doing something like that. I think Epic didn't let them was the deal because they were published by Epic.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and they apparently are talking. They're trying to find somewhere else they can get Rumbleverse going, which I wish them luck on that.
Yeah.
And But if they can't, then make a new Killer Instinct.
Yeah. Do something cool.
Get back with Xbox and make a new Killer Instinct and make the Xbox mascot fighter that I want so badly. Do both those things. Hell, shit. I mean, not to cheerlead that, hey, Xbox should buy everybody, but if Xbox bought Iron Galaxy and said, hey, you're on Killer Instinct duty and you're on our Xbox platform fighter duty, I'd be pretty happy.
Make Strider 2.
Yeah, oh shit, they did do Strider, didn't they?
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. I love that game.
I forgot about that, man. I didn't play much of it, but that's been on my. I still have it installed on my Xbox because like that's a game I want to play.
So good.
I forgot that was in. But also, hey, it just feels like bad news across the industry right now because news broke this morning or last night. Sony, my voice is going. Sony shut down Pixel Opus, or is shutting down in June. Pixel Opus is the studio that made Entwined, which wasn't very good, but then they made Concrete Genie, which was good, very good and unique and original. And this sucks. This just fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's sad. I generally feel bad for everyone involved.
Yeah, I do. And it's a smaller studio, I think like 10 to 20 people, like very, very small. You can't tell me that was going to break Sony's budget. Like,
yeah, that's the weird part. Why? Why did they?
I don't know. And they had recently announced a new game. They didn't identify it. Well, they didn't announce a game. They just said, hey, we're starting our new game. And it was something in conjunction with Sony Animation. So I think like it was going to get a animated movie and a game together.
Oh, so they just didn't want to make the movie. I think that's just what it was.
It very well could be that. And they had moved to within Sony's headquarters. The studio was in, I believe. Mm-hmm. So this is bizarre. And it almost feels like Sony, obviously we know they have a ton of live service games in the works. And of course they're kind of single player bangers.
Yeah.
They're action adventure games, the cinematic single player games. And Pixel Opus was probably neither, you know? And so it felt like they just didn't fit what Sony wants. Right?
Yeah. It probably was just like, I'm sure the movie came, like, the budget and all that came into it. And they were like, well, it doesn't really fit into our future vision.
Yeah.
We'll just shut you down. Sucks.
It feels to me like Sony's not interested in anything that's kind of, this is maybe harsh, but you know, anything that's kind of offbeat or I don't want to say they're not interested in creativity. That's a little harsh, but they're just not interested in making anything weird, I guess.
They have their niche and it's working for them and they don't want to change it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is working for them, but man, you could be a little bit more diverse, which, you know,
I agree.
They're doing all those live service games, so I guess that's going to diversify them. And I'm not against that. I know, you know, there's a portion of gamers you just say live service and they freak out. I'm not one of them as a Destiny fan. But I don't know. I think there should be a place for the offbeat games.
Yeah.
And it makes me worry about Media Molecule.
Yeah, honestly. That is something that I did not consider till just now.
Yeah. I don't know. So all of Media Molecule's founders are gone now.
Yep.
And they are starting a new project.
Didn't they just shut down Dreams?
They didn't shut it down, but they have said we're not going to update it anymore. But the servers are staying online.
That's good. At least.
Yeah. They're just not getting any new updates. So I worry if their new project is not either something live service or a AAA single player
online MMO.
Yeah. Then I worry if it doesn't fit in one of those two things, they're not going to make it much longer either. And you know what really kind of burns my britches? I don't think that's a real phrase, but I'm going to say it. I feel like Sony could have at least sold Pixel Opus to Embracer or
Xbox.
No, I don't think they would have done that, but that'd be great.
That'd be really funny.
Just anybody to let them stay together and keep making games. I'm sure somebody would have bought them, right? Probably. They couldn't be that expensive.
Someone would have loved that, I bet.
Yeah. I mean, I know that wouldn't have made Sony much money, but it would have been
good PR.
Yeah, good PR. A nice guy move, even though, you know, that sounds ridiculous. Who cares about
that's not nice guy? That's not Jim Ryan's bag, baby.
Yeah, I know. It just sucks. I think there was a way to even if it wasn't with Sony, to let them stay together. But yeah, I guess we're gonna end on a bummer.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Pixel Opus. No Concrete Genie 2, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess that's it. I was gonna say we'll be back in 2 weeks, but is that Zelda time? Let me look at the calendar here.
Zelda's next week.
Zelda's this weekend. Yeah, so maybe we'll be back in 2 weeks and have a. That'll be a week after Zelda, so maybe we can be a little bit loose on spoilers.
Yeah.
Not completely, but it'll be a week later, so we can at least talk about I think we can talk about how the game opens without worrying too much about, keeping our mouth shut at that point. So yeah, our big Zelda spectacular, and great news. We're back in business, baby. Hunter's got a new home. Hunter's got a new mic.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I got all these things. I'm a new apartment boy.
Yeah. So, subscribe here if you're watching on YouTube to Freshly Stream Games, and if you're watching or if you're listening on your podcast service of choice, hit the button. I probably should say that at the beginning of the show, right?
Yeah, hit that bell.
Yeah.
Subscribe and hit that bell.
All right, we'll be back. Anything? Oh wait, I should say, Hunter. By the way, Phantom Zone Comic Club. Talk to us.
So, Comic Club will be coming back in the next couple of weeks, sort of playing around the format to make it more fun. I'm thinking, because, I've done a lot of, all my shows have been on hiatus. A lot of thinking about how I want to bring them back. Comic Club, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be more like a conversational thing that I really want to try with Frank. Phantom Zone, we just came back. We just recorded a really fun episode. You can listen to all of us, and sometimes Eric, Lou, and Arlen will just talk about sad shit for an hour or two, and we're not all out there. Nice. But yeah, if you want to be bummed out, listen to that show. Yeah, that's all for me.
All right, and I will be streaming Zelda this weekend, so like I said, probably on Twitch, maybe Kick. Just look at Freshly Stream Games on either one. I'll put on my Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Freshly Stream Games, or I think it's just Freshly Games on Twitter. I don't know, whatever. You'll find me. Which one of these? Probably just Twitch. And it'll be a lot of Zelda. I took this Friday off to make it a 3-day weekend.
Nice.
And I'm gonna be just doing it all fucking.
Yeah.
My streams are overnight usually because I work overnights. So whatever. That's why we record our podcast so late.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look for that. Are you gonna be streaming Zelda too?
I won't be streaming Zelda, but I'll be playing Zelda. I'm probably gonna be streaming again soon though, because I have my setup now, and I really want to play Morrowind again. I was like, I'll just stream it. So we're probably gonna be playing Morrowind on stream soon.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll see you when we see you. Goodbye.
Bye.